Hi, Marigold here with another edition of AIWC. And today we actually have quite a few people. We have Michael Stewart in the house from Sudowrite, along with several ambassadors and other Sudowrite users. Today we are actually focusing on some of the laser tools within Sudowrite. And the focus today is going to be talking about how we actually use these laser tools for everyday writing needs, whether it is plotting out a story or actually going in and paring things down in the editing phase, or even adding content when we need to expand something. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Nicole, who has graciously volunteered to show us her screen and help walk us through some of these areas. And again, if you have any questions or you would like to talk further about a laser tool, you are welcome to raise your hand or even speak up or ask a question inside of the chat. Nicole?
Oh, and Nicole, before you speak up, I'm sorry to interject, but everybody listening and watching, when we put this out on the YouTube, we're going to have a link to the Sudowrite and to Nicole's YouTube and to all the participants who have this information that they can contribute so that you can go and see their videos and get caught up on all the processes, not just the laser tools. All yours, Nicole.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. Hello, everybody. Most of y'all know me. For the sake of new viewers to all the channels, welcome. I'm Nicole. I have been using Sudowrite for about 2 years. I am lead ambassador for Sudowrite and one of the teachers. So if you join our free Sudowrite classes, you may very well have a class with me. I am going to share my screen, and I'm just pulling up my copy of a Jack the Ripper project that I've been working on. And I want to copy real quick. I'm going to actually copy some things into chat, some little descriptors about the laser tools. That way they can get copied into the descriptions on this video, so y'all have it for easy reference. So our rewrite tool looks at 650 highlighted words. So that means if you highlight more than 650 words, you're not going to be able to use our rewrite tool. And the rewrite is here. So we're talking about, when we say laser tools, we're talking about this rewrite, this described, and if I highlight words, you see an expand feature. So that's what we're referring to as far as laser tools. So let's look at describe, one of the other laser tools. Describe looks at the paragraph that gets highlighted, and it also reads up to 200 words prior to the selection. Now, as new models and things come out, these could change. Sudowrite could have more readbacks, things like that. So just keep that in mind. Things can change going forward, especially if you're viewing this like 6 months down the road. And for expand, it reads the highlighted instructions. So if I'm expanding something, you'll see I can actually put something into brackets, which I'm going to demonstrate. And it does read back an unknown amount of text. So it does have some readback there. So again, we got our rewrite up here. And for rewrite, you cannot select the model that it uses. So it's not going to use something from your write settings, but you can select how many cards get rewritten. I typically have it at 1, but I have heard good things about having it set at 2 or 3 cards. I hear lots of users say the second or third output is generally really good, and that's their go-to. So let's go ahead and do 2. We'll compare real quick.
While that's generating, Nicole, can I ask you a question? You said that on rewrite, you can't select the model that you're going to use. Do you know what model they are using? And do you know if that ever changes?
They do periodically update the models as they find something that will perform the task better. As far as I know, it is currently using 3.5. And I know we have a Sudowrite team member here with us. He can correct me if I'm wrong, but last I heard it was 3.5. They do have plans for in the future to actually allow us to select a model. So I'm really looking forward to that, but that's nowhere on the timeline right now.
Yeah, so just to add a little context there, that is correct, but you're also right that we are testing. I think actually we may even have a test going right now. Other models. Our goal is for this to provide the best experience and the best pros. And the way that we measure that is typically thumbs up, thumbs down. So we do tests on these features periodically when we have a candidate model to replace them, but we don't have a scheduled update for rewrite right now, although we may have a test running.
Thank you, Michael. All right, so I selected rewrite, and I'm going to highlight it again just in case anybody missed it. So you'll see I have the option to rewrite here when I select words, and also here. There is no difference. You'll see the same for describe. There's no difference in these laser tools. They both do the same thing. It's just a matter of where it is. Having it pop up here makes it super easy if you're just in the middle of a document or something. So I clicked rewrite. It pops up with this drop-down box in the right. We have had people say, newcomers, hey, I clicked rewrite or describe and nothing's happening. A lot of times they have this side panel closed. So real quick, if y'all see these arrows right here, these double arrows, if I click that closes my panel. A lot of people don't realize you can open that. They may have accidentally closed it or defaulted to close. So they're clicking all these buttons, nothing's happening. So just click that double arrow at the top right here, and that opens that side panel for you. So that's where all your cards are going to generate, or rewrite, describe, all your laser tools. So I click the rewrite, and you have options right here. So these are just some pre-programmed things. I can't change them. If I want to do show not tell, but add something else, I cannot do that. I just now realized that would actually be pretty neat little feature if we could edit these. But there is the customize option. So I can put up to 13 words right here, customize whatever prompt I want it to be. Rewrite to be more graphic, have more blood spatter, gory, whatever. I picked the more intense right here, because this is a Jack the Ripper and he was starting the scene standing over his victim. And I chose the two cards. So we see here, let me expand this just a little bit more, make sure everybody can see. Tower over my latest prey, or eyes bulging with terror. I like this. That one's pretty good. Very similar to the second one in the beginning, but I like how the second one ended. So with all of these laser tools, you have the thumbs down, thumbs up, as Michael mentioned. So if this was just all full output, maybe it gave me some gibberish or started a sentence, didn't finish for whatever reason, I could thumbs down. A feedback box is going to pop up. I could input feedback. I actually don't know if the feedback boxes pop up on this. I may be wrong, but definitely thumbs down if there's something wrong with that generation. That helps them track things. That goes for all across Sudowrite.
So let's talk a little bit about that. I know that one of the things that within Sudowrite, especially if you are beta testing in an area, or even if you're using the live site, this feedback is so important to the Sudowrite team, because if something is working really well, thumb it up, give an explanation, be detailed, or give the bullet points of why it's working for you. Or if you have a suggestion, add that as well. But if something goes haywire and it's not giving you the result that you're looking for, thumb it down, and that way a member of the Sudowrite team can take a look at that. And if there is something happening with a specific tool, then it gets a bird's eye view on that. So don't feel like you can't engage the staff, because you definitely can. And again, making sure that you're thumbing up or thumbing down is really important, because if something's not working for you and you may feel frustrated, the team does not know that unless you provide that information. So be sure to use those. That's why they're there. Sorry, Nicole. Go ahead.
Thank you very much for that. That's something I think we don't stress enough. Use that all across Sudowrite as much as you can. That really does help them track things. I have actually had them reach out for me. I had just anybody messing with AI, some days the AI just does not want to cooperate with you. And there were instances where I'm just thumbs downing and giving my feedback. And I've actually had a member of the team reach out to me. Hey, I saw you thumbs down this. Can you give me some more details? Ask me a couple of questions. So it is something they watch very closely.
Not only that, but sorry, Nicole, but not only that, if there are maybe errors or something is down with one of the other platforms that they're sourcing the LLM through, say Anthropic or even OpenAI or any other platform that they're using, if those systems are down, then that means that it impacts not only Sudowrite, but any other people that are using those. Say if OpenAI was down and I was using their playground and it was down or not functioning correctly, then that would skew my results. But it could also impact Sudowrite or any other platform or company that's out there. So always keep that in mind. And if you do start to see a lot of errors, take a look. Are any of the platforms down that might be providing those LLMs? So it's not always Sudowrite or another vendor that you're using. It could also be that maybe one of the main servers are down, then that would actually be outside of their control. So again, keep that in mind as well. Sorry, Nicole, go ahead.
I see WordSpinner has a question.
I do. I'd like to talk about the star next to the thumbs. What does it do? How does it work? Is it for the team? Is it for us? Does it put it somewhere special? Or what does that do for us? For
Yes,
anyone?
ma'am. So the star is actually for you. So I'm going to collapse this a little, not collapse it, but put it back to normal size. So let's say I'm working through here and I want to go look at some cards here. As you're using these tools, this sidebar can start to fill up right away. Now we can actually delete this, but before we can't. But I can click this card. Once I know I'm done with it, I can delete those. The star, however, if I star this one, I am currently in my history tab. So I'm seeing every card I've generated in this document. But if I go to the star, now any of them that I've starred are right here. And I can actually rearrange these now. That's a new feature. So the star just has another little place for you to save some favorites.
Lovely. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So I copied this last sentence of the second generation. I actually really like this one. So I can just pop this in here. I like to do it after my generation. So something I want to talk about when you're using these cards. I had all of this highlighted to rewrite. If I click insert while stuff is highlighted, that is going to replace my highlighted stuff. So if I don't want that to happen, I need to put my cursor wherever I want to insert it, unhighlight it. Now, if you don't mind it getting replaced, you can go ahead and leave it highlighted. Alternatively, I can just click copy, insert it wherever I want. I can do manual copy paste right here, copy, paste, and put it wherever I want. So those are your options. Just keep in mind, if you have something highlighted and click that insert, it's going to replace your highlighted selection. So for that reason, I just like to put it after the fact, because a lot of times I'm going back through and merging these different pieces to make it more my voice, more of how I envision this scene going. But definitely check out Rewrite. It's great, especially the customize rewrite prompt. So many options you can do. Make it gory, make it sexier, make it more volatile, have more dialogue, things like that. There's plenty of things you can do, play around with it. And I would love to hear from our other ambassadors and power users how you actually use Rewrite. Do you have a favorite prompt or anything to put in there?
For me, if I'm using the rewrite, I do to use the custom, and it depends on the genre that I am using and what type of content I'm looking to get out of it. Do I need something to be more, something that is going to be a bit more pungent? Do I need something that's going to have more gore? Or do I need something that's going to have more of those sensory details? Depending on what it is that I'm needing, my little prompt there in the custom will change, but I will almost always put something in there to ensure that it has sensory details. So again, I do look at the genre that I'm writing in, and I look at what it is that I'm needing to have rewritten, and if there's a specific voice that I'm needing to write it in.
Thank you. And if I could veer slightly off topic, but still on topic, Sudowrite has what are called the quick tools. So they're not necessarily grouped into the laser tools, but it's quick edit and quick chat, and that could actually help you with your rewrite. I've compared quick edit and rewrite customized with the exact same prompt. I like what quick edit gave me most of the time, because quick edit does see our story Bible information. It sees our genre, style, character, world building information. Our laser tools currently do not do that. That is on their agenda to fix later on down the road, to have that see story Bible information. But right now, keep in mind, rewrite, describe, expand, do not see your story Bible information. So at times they can veer from things. But let's say, for example, you want to use this rewrite, you want to do this customized, but you really don't know what to do. Guess what? I could highlight some stuff. I'm just going to highlight a little bit more. With the quick tools, you can highlight up to 1,000 words. Just rewrite again, you can highlight up to 650 words. Let's say I want to do this section. I don't know how I want it to be rewritten. I can use the quick tools. So I can click on quick edit here. I can also use my keyboard shortcuts of Control K on Mac on PC, Command K on Mac. And that brings up this box, and I can select between quick edit or quick chat. And I'm going to pick quick chat. This, with the purple toggle on right here, uses credits. If I flip that off and it's grayed out, that does not use any credits. This becomes free for you to use. And this is using 3.5 turbo for the free version. I believe they are testing some other models now, maybe the 4.0 or 4.0 minis. You may see that improvements later. But for quick chat, I'm going to ask it. Again, I have this selection highlighted, and I can ask it, how can I instruct an AI to rewrite this scene? And because I know AI needs specific guidance, I can give an example. I want to be able to give it an example, such as make it bloody and gory. Fix my spelling here. But I also want it to give me a variety. Please give me a variety of instructions, short instructions I can use to make this scene more immersive. Make the instructions range from violent to mild violence, but focused on emotional aspects. So lots of stuff right there. You can keep going inside quick chat. I could put a lot. Obviously, that is much more I can put than I can put in rewrite. But again, this is just a way to give me some ideas. So let's see what it says right here. So this is a way for you to actually just get some ideas for your customized prompt. You can work with quick chat, and you could even collect those in a Google document, Notion document, wherever you want to save those. But let's see what it comes up with. Some good
At the
stuff.
top there, it tells us what documents it's looking at. Right now, it's just looking at chapter 6, but it is also possible for it to look at any of the documents in the project. That's
Can you
something that's,
control- John, can you control, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but can you control what documents it looks at and how?
I don't think so.
Okay.
You could
Not
probably refer to
currently.
them, Stacy.
Yeah, not currently, but it is a projected feature down the road to be able to control what quick chat looks at.
And while I got you, Stacy, could you read what you put in chat? Because that is also very important for everyone to hear. And I don't know that people will actually see the chat when they see this on YouTube.
Okay, quick chat can put things into JSON format for you. So some of the models take JSON really well, and a lot of us use an extended JSON object for an in-depth style guide. It can output things into JSON format for you. It can list out specifically named character or world building cards for easy copy pasting elsewhere. And it can help you fill in and rewrite your outline. Among a plethora of other things, but those are the things that I've used it for repeatedly, and it does really well.
Thank you. Thank you.
And to go back to the question of can you control it? Not specifically as was stated, however, you can guide it to stuff. So I linked a document, this Quick Tools Google Doc, so hopefully that can get shared in the description too for y'all. But this Quick Tools document tells you exactly what Quick Edit looks at and what Quick Chat looks at, all those little details. But now let's say I wanted it to specifically refer to maybe the detective or to the Whitechapel community. I can reference that in my prompt. It's not, last I checked, let me say that, last I checked, it is not reading the document title. It's not reading chapter 6. It doesn't know what chapter 6 is if I say that. If I say this genre and style document, it doesn't really grasp that. What it is looking at is any context in those documents and in the story Bible. So if I reference a person, place, thing, action, that can help guide it as to, hey, go find this for me. And I find that does a lot better. But here is what it gave us, and I'm liking it. Intensify the violence, amplify the terror. I really like these. Currently, this stuff is not saved anywhere, and because I like it so much, I am going to copy it, and I'm just going to throw it into a blank document right here for me to save later. And yes, that is also something they are working on for the future for us. Right. Any thoughts on this on rewrite before we veer away from that?
Did we say what model it uses?
I thought it was 3.5. John thinks 3.5 turbo.
I can probably get y'all a specific on that. I was just addressing Gold's question in the chat, which is what LLMs are which. We are generally happy to share that. I will say a couple of little asterisks here. One, the reason we omit it from our documentation is because these are always subject to change. I mentioned we are testing them. We always just want the best model for the job to be handling a task. But I will check in and get you a confirmed answer. I believe it's 3.5 turbo in several of these cases, but I would have to confirm. What I will say is we're not sharing specifics on My Voice or My Voice Rewrite, just because those are tools in beta and they are very subject to change. Also, just for competitive purposes. And we're doing a lot of work on those, and there's a ton of fine tuning that goes into effect there.
But Michael, it's also safe to say that at any point in time, you might find a better tool. It's always subject to change, right?
Yeah, I would say we do try and clarify, especially in our change log, when we change something. For example, we posted a change log update today that addresses an improvement we made to the synopsis rewrite function in Story Bible and the outline rewrite function in Story Bible. And in that case, it's a little in the weeds, but that did involve a model change. The end result is those places now follow instructions better and have greater context. So we've effectively removed limits there. But yeah, yes, a lot of this is subject to change, in part just because how fast model development is happening, right?
Definitely. And we know that y'all are right there at that cusp, right on the cutting edge, and wanting to use the best possible tools for us to be able to use in our writing. Now, if a community member or Sudowrite user has a question, what is the best way for them to reach out? Is it on Discord, or what if they're not a Discord user? What is the best way for them to reach out to Sudowrite?
Yeah, it's a great question. Yes, to address your point, we do have a pretty active Discord, but not everybody is on Discord. It is very easy to get in touch with us. You can always email hi@sudowrite.com. So we do have a support team that's always there, but the team also does pretty regular support rotations, meaning you're email might be responded to by myself or Amit or Jenny or anyone on the team. The email is the most direct if you're not in Discord. If you are in Discord, the other thing I would add is that we have, aside from the general help channel, we're always answering questions in the Sudowrite general channel, and we have a support ticketing system in there if your issue is something that is maybe specific to your account. If my credits didn't refresh as I expected they would, or on a different schedule than I expected, you can open a ticket pretty easily there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Nicole, I was going to answer your question from earlier. Well, I'm not going to qualify myself as a power user, but I do have a couple of ways that I use those tools. And one of them is sometimes either because of user error, my own, or because of the looniness of a LLM, we might say, because I know that OpenAI and all of those are always working on their product, and it'll mess things up on the Sudowrite end. Sometimes it'll mess up my tense. Instead of being present, it'll be past. Sometimes it'll mess up my POV. Instead of being third person, it'll be first, or vice versa. So I use that customize tool to direct Sudowrite to turn it into the tense I want or the POV I want. Now, yes, I could do that manually, but I'm lazy sometimes, so I just put that in the hands of the software and let that happen. So that's one of the ways that I use it. Other than I do use the customized one a lot, because sometimes I might want something to be more gory or more, shall we say, steamy or sensual. So
That's a good point.
that's it.
Yeah, I know a few people that use it right that way. And that brings up a good point that was mentioned in a class earlier today about the rewrite and using the auto and guided write too. But I know we're not talking about those. But in the case of all three, there have been instances where rewrite will actually change up and switch from not the tense and stuff you were writing in. So a lot of people try to make sure they have that in there for the right tense. And the same goes for if you're using auto or guided write. Again, these aren't laser tools, but if you're using those, make sure you put your tense, even though they're seeing your genre and style, they have been known to veer from your point of view, your tense and all that. So it's a good idea to put it like in the key details or in your guided write instructions here to make sure, hey, you're writing first person, present tense, or whatever you need.
Especially if you're looking for something that's not really a novel form, but more of an outline, or you have a very specific format that you're hoping to get out of it. A very cheap model like the Mixtral Instruct will actually do some of these things if you essentially support your style by possibly copying it and sticking it into the key details for an auto write run.
And I like what was mentioned in chat. I've never done that before. Let me find another, if I could find one that's more descriptive. Okay, so this was some playing around stuff. I'm just going to copy this. Let's see, that's 317. So I can actually copy a lot of this stuff.
Now I have a question for you. I see where all of the text, or a big portion of it, is purple and some is white. Can you explain that to the viewers? And the second part to that is there a way to turn all of it white rather than go paragraph by paragraph?
There is, as far as I know, maybe somebody else can chime in on that. I'm not aware of a way to turn it all white. White is saying something I edited or maybe got away from. So if I just place my cursor here at the end of this purple paragraph and I hit enter, that stays purple. If I come in, delete that quotation mark, that's editing. So as soon as I edit something, it will turn white in it.
And it has that purplish color because you probably used one of the laser tools like rewrite or maybe the expand. And whenever you add it in, it becomes that purple color until you actually make it permanent within the document, correct?
It is
Correct. This was actually from first draft. So when I inserted it, it's all purple. And then if we did, let me go back to that one. If y'all noticed in the cards on the right, They were actually a mix of white and purple. Purple is the new words. White is the words that I already had in that text right there. I stand over, I tower over. So you see tower is purple.
Now, what if the user does not want to go in and make changes and make all of the content white, and they're wanting to continue writing the story? Do they have to commit it to the Word document in order for the laser tools to be able to read up for some of the content? Or will it read up on some of the purple content without them having to commit it to the document?
Yeah, it'll still read back. As long as it's there in the document, it'll read back.
It's not going to read the history cards, right? You're going to have to copy and paste it into the document, or you're going to have to insert it. It only goes purple if you insert. If you copy
Right.
and paste, it stays white.
When you insert it and it is purple, and maybe I have typed some content down below and it's white, but then I take my cursor and I highlight, maybe I put a beat in there that I want to expand on, but I take that beat and then I highlight up into the purple. The system laser tools, will it read up and know that the purple content applies to the story as well? That's what one of the questions was.
Good question. It's the purple or white will not affect it won't know it. It won't see the purple or white. It'll just see it all
Okay.
as text.
Perfect. Thank you.
And it's just for us, it's not for the system. For those who would like to bypass having purple, I'm going to tell you, I encourage you not to do that. And here's why. Because internets, softwares, everything can glitch. You want to see that thing that you clicked insert actually made it over. And when you have a wall of text in front of you, you may not catch that. But if it's purple, it did. What if you hit it twice and it put it in there double? You'll also know that way, because you'll be able to see that, okay, here's a huge wall of purple text. So you want to look at that. And we're writers ultimately, and we do edit our stuff. So we should be able to see what's inserted. And that purple, that's a flag that tells you, okay, this is new stuff. Put eyes on it. It's come over correctly. You haven't duplicated it or missed something. That's just my thought on it.
Having that purple is a good indicator for yourself that, okay, I haven't reviewed this yet. And you go paragraph by paragraph and you accept it or you change it. And when you've changed it, it turns white. There's also easy changes. I don't know if single spaces will also change something from purple to white for a paragraph.
Yeah, agreed.
So another user said that when she is using the rewrite, that sometimes she likes to change the tense so that she can make chapter summaries for chapter glue, and that she'll actually take her chapter summaries or beats and put them in a document and ask rewrite to put it in past tense. And then she likes to go ahead and put the past tense or version of it into her world building card for story updates. Would you like to expand on that?
Sure. Yeah, basically, it's just for the sake of getting the story glue, because sometimes when you go to the next chapter, it doesn't know what happened in the last one. Not sometimes, that's how it works. And so there's different fixes to try to get what we call chapter glue to get it to know what happened in the last chapter. So this is something that I do. I add a world building card that's called story updates. And then every time I'm finished with the beats for that chapter or finished generating that chapter, then I either through rewrite or I could do it myself, but rewrite makes it a lot easier just to automatically put it into past tense. Then I can add it to story updates as something that this is what previously happened, and it can pick that up from there.
So I think it's important to point out there that the tense of your beats is important, or the tense of the words that you're using sometimes is important as instructions. If you're giving it something in past tense, it may or may not realize that you're asking for it to do that now as an instruction. But if it's in first tense, if it's saying do this, then do this, as a bunch of beats that are going to run. But if you have it in that past tense, it did this, then it did this, then it did this. It thinks of it sometimes as something that's already happened. So that enforces that already happenedness in as a chapter glue bit.
Michael, I have a question. You had stated that proper working with the chapter glue, you said in a near term, I guess it's a near term priority for Sudowrite. Can you expand on that? Is that some cool information that you can share with us today, or is that still in the back?
So our approach is still very much, we're in the research for this, but what I will say is that coming out of our most recent onsite just in July, we're looking at a lot of the pain points with Sudowrite and things that we consider duct tape fixes to Sudowrite right now. And a couple of things really stood out. One of these is both perspective and tense having to be shoehorned into a sort of beat header. And so we're looking into how to pull those out and just make those clear directives that you can give as a part of the either chapter generation step or outline, the portion of the outline you're in. So we're investigating that. And the other big part of this was chapter glue, which we know is a shortcoming. Chapters should be aware of the stuff that happened before. And folks have really creative and thoughtful approaches to solving this. So we have a good foundation of different strategies that we've seen employed, but we are going to be building a better version of this. And so the questions right now are how dynamic that is. If you make changes to the body, say you have a chapter 4 and you make inline changes to that document, should presumably the chapter glue may have to update if those are material to the plot. We're still in the research and figuring out how that's going to work, as well as which models we'll use to power that. But the goal is very much that you don't have to think about this so much in the future, and that instead, when you use the chapter generator to generate a chapter, it's aware not only of the beats that it's writing, but that context of what has happened before.
Oh, definitely. And that's going to cause us to, if we wanted to take a look at all the other chapters, then I could definitely see the need for a larger context window. And as a user, that might impact me as far as maybe my credits or my tokens and how they're being used. Because if I have a lot of information, say, inside of my beats or inside of my cards, inside of my chapters, maybe I have really long chapters, then the tool is going to have to look at my input as well as look at the output of the content that's being generated. So I want people to keep that in mind too, that this is an extremely cool direction to go into, and it will help to keep the, I guess, the consistency from chapter to chapter. But keep in mind that it's going to require a larger context window as well. Because of that, Michael, are y'all also looking at ways to identify to say, hey, your input for this, if I'm going to search here, will it enable us to see maybe how many tokens it maybe needs to read back on? Or is that still something that's in the works and not something that can be shared at this time?
Yeah, so I guess there's two things I want to touch on with that. It's a great question. So one is that we already have something that is intended to both make these generations a little bit more economical and also just feasible. And that is the saliency engine. So this was something we had to introduce with the expansion of basically when we made characters unlimited, and we also allowed folks to generate unlimited world building elements. Unlimited is a tough job for AI, as we know. And so we introduced a sort of intermediate step, a background process called saliency engine, which helps distill to that which is relevant. So it highlights the things that matter to the AI only on demand as the AI needs those things. And so that, I think, is part of the question. Should this be baked into saliency engine? But there is another thing that I think you're getting to. I think in terms of credit usage is a little bit, that's its whole own challenge. I think the only place that we have proper estimation like in place right now is with the chapter generator. So we'll make sure that remains representative and as accurate as possible. We have a few ideas on how to even improve that and what we could do there. But what I will say is that for greater control, we're talking about, I believe Ryan has already shared some details on this, so I'm not getting ahead of myself, but there is a project called the what's it called? Context Picker. I think that's the name of it, but the idea is you should have full visibility into what the AI is considering, and you should be able to say, actually, don't take that into account. And I think the context picker is the fine-tuned control. You can get a little preview of sort of the direction that feature would be in if you look at the write cards as they are today, where now if you generate a write card, you get what we're calling chiclets, the little data points of what that write card saw as it was generating. And so the context picker would be an expanded version of that before you actually do commit to a full generation for better control. I hope that makes sense.
Perfect sense. Now, I did have an odd question, but one that I actually want to know the answer to as well. I've been playing around in Sudowrite and looking at some of the different functionality. And I don't mean to veer off a little bit, Nicole, but I don't want to forget. So we're talking about the world building. It was brought up a couple of times. I had a couple of users want to know if the character list can be generated for you. Is there a way to push a button somewhere for it to generate some of the elements of my world building for me, rather than me having to key in all the information, kind of like how the character list will generate for you?
Yeah, so it's a great question. And we did have this, I think we currently have this outstanding feature request for an equivalent feature to the characters import. So we have the smart import capability with characters inside of the Story Bible, where you can upload manuscript in progress up to 50, 60,000 words, and it will just extract those characters for you. So we had requests for both essentially a generate cast equivalent, a smart world building import, but we actually prioritized something else ahead of those things, and that is a complete Story Bible importer. So
Okay.
this is, I believe Ginny has it functional right now on a beta branch somewhere, but the intent of that is that you can upload either a few chapters of work, a complete novel, or somewhere in between, a work in progress, and it will backfill the entire Story Bible for you, inclusive of both characters and all your world building elements there. Obviously, it's tricky. I'm glad she's doing that one. And so we're tuning that to get the best results out of it right now. I think once that's in place, then it becomes it's almost easier for us then to say, okay, can we introduce just the world building element extractor? Part of the reason we haven't prioritized that is we like to start with the harder, bigger thing first and work backwards. But then also, we've seen lots of really compelling and nearly feature complete plugins that can do that job. So it has been less of a priority.
But it's getting
Okay.
it into world building, which is difficult for
Yeah.
plugins to do. Though getting stuff into characters now is very easy to do. And you can either use results from plugins or even just the whole document from chapter 1, stick it into that import, and then pull the characters out.
Now, I have used the import function for the character list, and I think everybody knows that I like to use the different parts of Sudowrite or other tools, maybe not the standard way that they're to be used sometimes. So one of the things that I do love about the import is, yes, I'm limited to 30 different characters, but when I upload my content, I don't always upload it as a character. I might add something in there for vernacular. I might even add something in there for some part of my world building, and I will name it. Now, of course, I have to go in there and make alterations to it if I maybe need to look at a key detail, but I did test that multiple times, and I was really surprised to find that when I was generating my story beats in my beat card and within the beats themselves or in the prose, it was actually grabbing some of the information that I had put within my character list that maybe wasn't character driven. It was maybe something about my world or something about the vernacular that I needed to have used, or even maybe some really deep backstory information about flashbacks or dreams. I was able to put that inside of my character list. So keep in mind, if you're looking for a quick fix, that's one way that you can actually use the character list to assist you, or at least it's been helpful for me.
And if you do that, you do need to refer to your card directly in the beat or header so that it can actually find that card. If you try to think that the card will get you can't really bury the card inside another card. So if you refer to the vernacular of a particular character, and like a whole bunch of characters all use the same vernacular card, if that's like a second step down, it may not find it. And so you would need to refer to the vernacular card in the beat so that it can find the correct vernacular for those characters that you're using it.
Yeah, and I found that to be effective. Now, to your point, when I did not refer to the card, I want to say it was a 1 in 4 generation where I might see it bleed into there. But when I was actually pinpointing, say I have a specific backstory for a character, and maybe I have a flashback that I put in there, if I reference the character and that label of backstory, I found that information actually helped me. And same thing if I had somebody with, say, a Scottish Highland accent or some other dialect, I could pinpoint that as well. And I was able to drill down into the content. So do keep that in mind, that there are ways to do it, but you have to get a little creative. And again, this is AI and things are changing so fast. And that's another reason why there are so many tool changes. One of the community questions for AIWC was, why are there so many changes? I just got used to Sudowrite and Story Bible and how to actually work my flow and had it working for me, and then everything changed. Well, we definitely want the change, and I can relate to that. I can relate to the fact that things change and then it changes your process. But if Sudowrite never changed, or if any of the other platforms out there never changed, then they would become stagnant. And with change, with that evolution comes better tools. So I can tell you from early testing in the early days, before we even had a story engine within Sudowrite, that things changed so drastically, and we want things to change. Does it, again, create a hiccup sometimes? Sure, for you as a user, but if you're going to use the tool, invest the time to learn what those functions are so that you can see how to better use the tools. Every change that's being implemented or made across any platform is to better serve the user, whether you are on OpenAI, any other platform, or Sudowrite. So if you ever have a question about a change, be sure to either email Sudowrite or ask in the Discord for Sudowrite, or even in the AIWC Discord. Go ahead, Nicole.
Back to me. Okay, so John had mentioned back to the purple versus white thing. If it's really bothering you to have that mixture, John mentioned inserting makes it purple. So I did test it out. So I inserted this one and you see it's purple. And then I did the copy button and pasted this, and you can see it's white. So that is an alternative. If y'all do not like that purple color, I think it's beautiful. I love the purple. I actually wish all of mine was purple. There's some options for you. John also mentioned he wanted to see the chiclets in action. So let's find a document real quick where I can continue writing and y'all can see the chiclets. All right, so I'm just going to, no, that won't work. I did some heavy experimenting in this one. All right, so I'm just going to scroll down to the end of this and use the right button. What do I have selected here? We're just going to do the dual chiclet demonstration, so I'm just going to do 50 words. So you see the right card pop up. So this is what I imagine the context checker will be. So where you see looked at and all these different things, that is what they call chiclets. So it's telling you when I click that right button, it looked at all of these things and then it wrote right here, wrote my 50 words. And so with the context checker, however that's going to look in the UI, we'll actually be able to tell, oh no, you're not supposed to look at the police station or this, whatever. So that's how it'll be.
Like it'll give you an extra step before it actually does the right.
That's how we imagine. We don't have a prototype or anything we've been playing with, y'all. That's how I imagine it'll be. All right, so let's look at describe now. I'm sorry, I want to do expand first. I like to do expand and then describe. So I'm just going to expand this little sentence right here. And again, expand is not up in this one, but it's down here.
How many words, max and minimum, can you highlight?
That is a good question. John, do you know that?
I think you need to select at least 10 to see the expand. And I think it's something like 200 or 100 or something. It's you're not gonna see it anymore.
Okay, thank you.
I think for expand, yeah, we had done something along those lines playing around with it, but I could be 1, 2, 3.
And
Yep,
if you
10
are a
words.
user who likes to use expand in your editing process or even in your writing process, and if you feel comfortable with it, be sure to put down in the chat how you like to use expand. The way you use it might help another community user.
Okay, so expand does not see, just like the other laser tools, it doesn't see my story Bible information, so it does veer off. Expand is one of those that to me is very hit or miss. When it misses, it just drives you crazy, but when it nails it, it really nails it, and it's beautiful. So this one, we got children, and I don't know, the person just walked on off and had a drink and stuff. So it didn't follow. But again, that's something we can do with expand. Let me try to give it instructions. So I want it to focus on
So another user had a question about expand. If they highlight a specific area, will the tool then read up or down, either up or down the area that's been highlighted? Will it look at any of the other contexts?
So it reads the highlighted instruction and does read back. I don't think we were able to determine an amount of text that it reads back. John was doing a lot of experimenting the other day for all of these to find out this information for us.
I have some information on that because when you all were doing your experimentation, I was trying to get a concrete answer. And with expand, my understanding is that there's no word limit for preceding text, and instead it stuffs the remaining context window with preceding text, meaning, let me just find where I had this conversation. Yeah, take the max token size available, subtract the prompt, and then fill the rest with first highlighted and then preceding text.
So you're not seeing any kind of forward-looking part in that at all.
No, exactly. So we currently do not have expand look ahead. There's no following text.
And
So
But
Miracle,
does it
Mike.
read back? So does it read
Yes.
back? And I asked that because I use it frequently and I know that it pulls stuff back, but I've never seen it pull stuff forward.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so it reads back. I think it would help tremendously if we could get some, what's it called when it's the reading forward? Isn't there another, not preceding, but something else? I think that would help expand tremendously because it always ends up veering and my characters starts going off where they don't need to be.
So one of the things that I
yeah.
do, Nicole, whenever I'm doing this, just like you have your instructions within the brackets, one of the things that I like to do with Expand is put in a beat there or instruction, and I will highlight, say, the sentence above that and the sentence below that, and I'll ask it to transition in between. And I find that extremely helpful for me, and it tends to not go off the rail as frequently if I'm doing that.
Oh yeah, it's great. I forgot about that. I've done some transition scenes. It's done those pretty well. And again, that helps with that going forward context. So I think that's the only thing missing from Expand right now to make it more useful at the moment. Until they all got connected to Story Bible, if Expand could see a little bit more, just even 150, 250 words ahead. I think that would help without us having to highlight. But to give an example, so the first Expand I did was just highlighting this sentence of her walking and hearing whispers, and it gave us heartbeats faster, turns the corner, see groups of children playing, and basically just, okay, she thinks somebody's following her, and that's about it. So not where I would want this to go. So I did the instruction in brackets right here, and I highlighted all this for the second round of Expand. So now I'm just telling it, hey, I want you to focus on these overheard whispers and detail that. And that did much better. So you see here, this is more of what I was wanting. Where now, okay, people are starting to whisper and all that stuff.
About the brackets,
Mm-hmm.
if I may, does it ever recognize something other than those brackets, say the curly brackets, say parentheses, or is it strictly this, and does it recognize always that this is an instruction?
I know in beats, when I'm using beats, because I use a mix of square brackets and parentheses in my beats, it doesn't care which I use. I use them differently for me. So whenever I'm scanning all of that, like you said, that wall of text, I know if I'm looking for an instruction, I know to look for my square beats. If I'm looking for additional information, story context, I'm looking for parentheses. So that helps me. To my knowledge, I have not noticed it caring whether or not I have any symbols. Does anybody else have any experience with that?
I've actually played with that. I have not used curly there other than using like a small little JSON prompt to direct it to have a specific voice. But I have actually used brackets. I have used parentheses. I have used the 2 asterisks at the beginning and the end to bold it. And I've actually added my beats and my instruction with nothing, just straight text, just to test it. And any of those combinations, it has actually followed and done what I asked it to do. So I've not had an issue there. Now, I do want to point out that one of the things that I really like about it is that because it does read up, if I am, maybe because I'm in the beta, I have written something with one of my tuned voices, and it is a dark mafia, and it actually matches my voice very well. If I am working on content and maybe I want to expand and I put a little beat in there to add some extra additional information, I do find that it actually matches my tone, whether it is dystopian or if I'm writing my dark mafia or any other genre, it seems to match it. If you find that it's not right there where you want it to be, that's when I'll put a little bit of context in there. If I want it to be gritty or edgy, or if I want the scene to be more intense, I can also add that in instruction. Now, we do have a community question. Somebody wanted to know what LLM is used for Expand. And I know that it has been said before that I think it was said 3.5 turbo. I just want to clarify that since it was private message to me.
Yeah, so I was just trying to get confirmation on some of these, and I would need to double check with Expand in particular, whether it's GPT 3.5 Turbo or GPT 3.5 Turbo Instruct. The Sudowrite has been around a little while, and some of these tools, such as Expand and even First Draft, originally used models that OpenAI has since deprecated. And so we did take steps to upgrade these from things like DaVinci over to GPT 3.5 Turbo Instruct. That may be the current model powering Expand. I would need to confirm though. Now, even 3.5 Turbo Instruct is now, it may not be deprecated yet, but it is on the chopping block with the release of the 4.0 and 4.0 mini models. And there's work on our end to test those and to see what appropriate substitutions may be.
Nice. I can tell you that whatever it is that y'all are using there, it does produce some pretty good expanded content.
Yes.
I'm glad to hear it.
Michael, can you speak to with any degree of certainty, because I hate to put you on the spot this way, but to the deliberacy of whether it should be a closed bracket, not a closed bracket, a square bracket, or a curly one, or parentheses, whether that matters or not? Do you have anything definitive on that?
So what I will say is, with a high degree of confidence, I can say we don't have any backend instructions that are prepping the AI for that. So whether the AI is picking up your intent is between you and either the selected model or the feature that you're using. We don't say, look for beat headers are this and they're in square brackets. Instead, that was more of an emergent community behavior that when folks realized like, hey, this actually works pretty well. And so I will say on our end, there's nothing prepping the AI for that.
Thank you. Very good to know.
So I
So
don't know
I
if
do
anybody
wanna-
paid attention like with generating these expands. Sorry, Marigold, go ahead.
That's okay. Go ahead.
I generated some more expands. So this is the original that I did with the first instruction in square brackets when it gave the little whispers and everything. So I switched those to curly brackets. You see the curly brackets right here now around it. Oops. And this is what it gave me. So it didn't give me any lines of dialogue. And I thought, okay, that's probably just a fluke. So I ran it again with the curly brackets. No actual lines of dialogue. She's talking about the whispers she's hearing. They're discussing, she's saying what she's hearing, but there's no lines of dialogue versus that first one. So I switched it back to square brackets. And now there's lines of dialogue again. So I think that's interesting. And to me, that is a John Creasson thing if he wants to tackle and look in, okay, how can we use this now? Because I'm thinking this could probably be used if this is a consistent thing with square brackets versus curly brackets.
Curly could
This
be
could
more
be used-
instructional.
I'm thinking this could be used for those people who are wanting that inner monologue, maybe.
Good point.
So I'll leave that to the mad scientist of Sudowrite if he wants to experiment with that.
Now, there's a good little conversation going on inside of the chat right now. Some people have talked about secrets and instructions and how do you get the AI to actually keep something secret? And I know that I've seen this question at different times, especially coming from maybe a thriller writer or a mystery writer. Maybe it's a whodunit and they can't reveal the killer, but they need to plant those little Easter eggs and, that foreshadowing. So what do they do to ensure that the AI does not reveal something that should be a secret? So what are some of the things that the current community does and that the Sudowrite staff might recommend or the ambassadors for keeping secrets?
For me,
Lie to the AI.
yeah, John is a big proponent of lying.
Okay,
Sorry, I
what does
had a
that mean?
chat message.
What does that mean when you say lying? Are you saying we are lying to the LMs or Sudowrite to the software so it doesn't know what we're trying to hide? Is that what you're saying? Or are you lying?
I'm saying that in the first chapter, you need to tell the story Bible what the character knows in the first chapter, not what the character becomes in the final chapter. If you fill out your story Bible for the entire book, essentially what you've given it is an overview of what is the final chapter. And if you start writing your first chapter with that context window, you're going to end up with the end of the book, not the beginning of the book. So you want your characters at the beginning to not know that they're going to become these fantastic beings by the end. They want to be down in shit. They want to be in the real world. They want to be, or they're happy where they are, and they're going to be dragged through it and end up changed in some way. They could be Donald Trump or something. They're going to turn into Mother Teresa by the end. But you have to lie at the beginning, possibly, about what the characters think the future will hold for them. And that's the lying that I'm talking about. You use the story Bible to influence the way that the characters see their story progressing. And the earlier chapters look different than the last chapter.
So one of our users said that the key language for her is to hint at, but to not yet reveal X. Do you mind expanding on that?
Sure, yeah, because one of the problems for me is when I keep that information out completely, sometimes I need little hints or little foreshadowing before, or it'll be something that the character knows about, but is keeping a secret, and it's not yet revealed to the reader what the secret is. And so, like, for example, if somebody has a bad association with dogs or something, and they don't want to reveal yet that it was actually from a vicious dog attack that happened, I might say, to give them some sort of a reaction to a dog, I'll ask the AI, hint at, but do not yet reveal that this character has a fear of dogs or something. And so then it might come up in some way of not wanting to talk about a dog, or just not wanting to be near it, but not admitting why yet. And so that's something that for me, if I say hint at it, sometimes it'll do something that's a little bit more subtle. But if I were to actually put in the information, this character is afraid of dogs, then the AI is just going to come out and say that. If instead I say, please hint at this, but we're not revealing it yet, then it might be a little bit more subtle and not coming out and saying it yet.
Oh, I
Can I
love
offer
that
middle ground
idea
on
of
that?
hint. Go ahead.
Just a middle ground on that. And I love the idea too, by the way. But we always like to give people options. So when I'm writing it, if I don't want the AI to know something or reveal something, my train of thought again, I'm a big beats person. So every time I'm writing my beats, my train of thought is, what does the reader need to know? Stacy mentioned this in chat. If the reader does not need to know it, the AI doesn't need to know it. That's my first train of thought. So I just don't put it in there. Now, going back to what the user just said, though, that's a great example of there are times when the AI does need to know something to write that scene properly. So another option would be just to guide it more. If you know how you want that scene playing out, for instance, scared of a dog, okay, I'm not going to tell the AI this incident happened when they were a kid, now they're scared of dogs, but instead in my beat, I might put something like, Michael climbed on the porch, the dog jumped up and barked at him, and then Michael jumped and fell backwards down the steps and hands were shaking. I'm not going to say any kind of wording of they were scared of the dog. I'm not going to reveal that or reveal some sort of past trauma, but instead I'm going to guide the AI. I want this character to react this way. So I think that's another way you're still guiding that scene, telling it, hey, I want this character to respond this way, but you're not telling it why and giving that reveal. So to me, it feels like you got all ends of the spectrum covered right there.
Very nice. I think there was something that Wordspinner wanted to say.
Are you micromanaging me?
No.
Just kidding. So listen, y'all, we came here to talk about laser tools. I know that we veered a little bit on occasion, but these are all very valid things that we needed to address. But I recognize that Michael's time is valuable, as is many of the other folks that are here. So I was going to draw us to an ending on the laser tools and then closing that. But if anyone wanted to stay, ask questions, give tips, and this includes you, Michael, but I know you're busy, so I'm not going to pressure you to do that. I'd like to transition us now towards wrapping up laser tools, closing that part, and then giving the option to anyone who wants to stick around and discuss more tips and tricks, whether it's laser tools or not. Sound good?
And we can always have another roundtable later to answer some of the questions that we did not get to today.
Can I add one thing on this is a little bit on the secret keeping vein, but it's also just something to be aware of with laser tools. A good thing to remember is which of the toolbar tools and selection menu tools are tapped into your story Bible, right? Because we're talking about keeping secrets, and presumably those secrets are stored somewhere. So you do have the ability today to hide things like characters and world building elements inside of your story Bible. But when you do that, you're hiding them from the tools that are actually tuned into your story Bible in the first place. So that is the chapter generator, and it is the write button. The write button is set apart from all of the other tools available, both in the toolbar and in the selection menu, in that the write button is set up as a dynamic plugin on the back end, right? It is essentially the only one of these tools today that is able to have that degree of visibility into your story Bible. We wanted to make it really smart. So it works different than these other ones. So if you're using these other tools, you don't really need to worry about the sort of peek ahead. Expand is not going to peek ahead and spill anything that wasn't in the selection or the preceding text. So just something to be aware of.
Oh, that's good information to know. So rewrite, describe, any of those areas will not take a peek at your story Bible, but write and guided write will, correct?
Correct.
Unless you
Perfect.
turn
Thank you.
off Story Bible.
Yes, exactly. That's a way to make it blind to the entire story Bible, is to toggle it off.
Nicole, can you demonstrate that? She just toggled it off and now back on. Thank you. And Nicole, can you show us the characters and show us how you can toggle those on and off too?
Yep. So on the character card, I just have it collapsed. So this is the entire character card for Jack the Ripper. Click the three dots and I can choose to never allow Sudowrite to see that card. And you see the little eye with the line through it. Coming soon is an always feature. Of course, Jack the Ripper is the central thing. Maybe I wanted to always know all these things. So I'll be able to select that soon. So there's never, and then there's the default right now. Now, if I wanted to, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
And you can go back and forth between that. You can say never and then bring it back and then go back to never, depending on the chapters that you're generating, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Perfect.
And you can also do it with individual traits. Let's just say I had some background information. Jack's scared of a dog, had the incident with a dog when he was young. I had that in here, but I didn't want the AI to know that right now. I can just go to that trait. So his card is still visible, but I can hide this individual trait right here.
This is really helpful if you find something like the character's eyes keep being defined over and over again. So you don't care about the color of the character's eyes. You could just turn it off.
Yeah, you're tired of them piercing you and the other characters, things like that. So to wrap up for laser tools, the only other one left is describe. It's very straightforward. The toggle, the drop-down arrow for describe, you can toggle these off and on. I generally leave them all on. If you toggle them off here in this project and go to a different project, they will still be toggled off. So keep that in mind. It's account wide. So you would need to toggle those back on. Again, I typically just leave them on. And then I could hit describe. Something I think is neat that I learned from Ryan Rivers and John Cresson was the metaphors. So it's going to generate a metaphor down here. And honestly, I always found these useless. I'm like, I don't understand what I'm supposed to do with this metaphor. One of these brilliant young men had the idea to copy this metaphor and take it into a place like Midjourney, or you could use it because we have the Visualize with DALL-E 3 now. You could actually visualize this. And these have made some really good images with these metaphors, y'all. So I highly, if you just find you don't really care for describe, I do recommend giving that a try. Just copy your metaphor out and try it out with visualize and see what it comes up with for you. I think that is just so neat. But the other stuff you can see here, very straightforward. It gives you about 3 examples for each one. And that is it for the laser tools. Don't like the words? Love the image though.
Pretty
Beautiful.
cool.
Very beautiful. The words are interesting.
Am I good to stop sharing my screen? Do y'all need it some more?
No, I think we are getting close to wrapping up this session. Word spinner?
Yeah, does anybody have any more questions? Anything we need to talk about? Otherwise, we will shut down the laser tools. Anyone that wants to stay can stay. We will stop recording also, just in case anyone wants to discuss anything in a more private nature.
Actually, Michael, is the extension in Google Docs still available?
It is not supported. I believe we removed the install link from the main website in part because it's not actively supported. If you already have it, you can use it, but it's not our priority.
Awesome. And I'd like to request that one of these days we do a write and guided drill down, if anyone is available for that at some later date. Thank you for joining us today, everybody, and make sure to sign up for, if you don't have Sudowrite yet, sign up for a free trial version so you can check it out and see what we're all talking about here. Sign up for the YouTubes, watch all those videos so you can learn before you start burning credits, because those are fun and easy to burn through. Marigold, stop your recording.